Hello guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video we are gonna see what if Naruto was the primordial being in a world of gods part 1. Huge shout out to for this story. If you want more awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Who's making all that noise? Due to everything shaking around him, the figure wakes up from his long sleep, wondering how long he has been under. A millennium? Maybe 2? Being asleep for so long will make everyone lose track of time. Digging through his memories, the figure regains a few memories from before he hid himself away. After losing his train of thought for a moment, because of all the shaking, he manages to remember a few faint memories of a time that has long passed. He remembers why he's here, hidden away from all prying eyes and ears. He sealed himself away for the safety of those who wanted to use his power for greed. Humanity. From what little he can remember, the figure remembers of a great war that has taken the lives of thousands. Former enemies joined together to fight a common enemy who wanted to capture the most powerful creatures on the planet, the Biju. The Biju were creatures of near limitless power, capable of destroying mountains and causing natural disasters with a swipe of one of their tails. On their own, they could take on armies and destroy countries. And the world's common enemy wanted to capture the 9 Biju and reunite them to form the most powerful and destructive creature known to man, the 10-tailed demon. Where the Biju were creatures of near unparalleled power, the 10-tailed demon was unmatched by all. The next few memories are too blurry for the figure to see through clearly. While he may not be able to fully recall everything, he does remember the death and destruction that took place after the 10-tailed demon was formed. What else he can remember is that at the end of the aftermath, he was left standing with the limitless power of the 10-tailed demon within his fingertips. Of course, it didn't take long for his allies to grow lustful for his power, betraying one another for a chance to steal his power for themselves. So, instead of starting another war, he chose the only decision that didn't involve wiping out all who stood in his way. He sealed himself deep underneath the earth's crust to not only hide himself from all the world's hatred, but to also take away the power of the 10-tailed demon that is sealed within his body, making his power a limitless construct of chakra. Hence, he has not aged a day since his self-exile. With no company and little else to do, he has spent a lot of time within his own mindscape, practicing with all the abilities he attained from sealing the 10-tailed demon within his body. After years of training, he has eventually mastered his power, which has grown exponentially since his self-exile. Incapable of remembering anymore, the figure feels the earth around him shake, once more. Only this time, it's much stronger than before. He can feel something, or rather, someone pulling the earth upwards, and they're attempting to take him for the ride as well. Sensing wide-scale destruction on the surface, the figure decides to confront the one who's responsible and stop them. Opening his eyes, the figure's sparkling blue eyes glint within the darkness of the underground cavern. Soon, his blue eyes shift in both shape and color, changing to a set of purple eyes with a ring pattern. Along the rings in his eyes are a complete set of 10 tomos in each one, spinning to life as he flares his chairs. In front of the figure, space rips apart to reveal a dimensional portal that is connected to the Earth's surface. Taking his first steps with no hesitation, the figure walks back into the open world, into a new age of technological advances and wonders. The Sage of Six Paths, Naruto Uzumaki, has just woken up and unknowingly shifts the fate of the world. 1983 Cairo. Xavier's crippled body can only lay there on the second floor of the half-destroyed house and watch as his students and friends fight against the mutant god, Apocalypse. They are all surrounding the mutant god on all sides, attacking him with everything they got. Not only them, but a former member of Apocalypse's 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse is attacking her former ally from the skies. From what he can recall, her name is Storm. In fact, it's Storm's contribution that is actually helping them to fight against the powerful being. If not for her arriving and firing bolts of lightning on Apocalypse, he would have teleported away from them. Still, even with Scott's optic beams, Storm's lightning and Eric's metal, Apocalypse remains standing. This is mostly because of the energy dome that he has surrounded himself in, incinerating anything that makes contact with it. As of right now, it's a battle of stamina between his students and the mutant god. Sadly, he can tell that they are starting to tire from constantly using their powers, while Apocalypse remains calm and disposed within his protective shield. Using his telepathy, Xavier fights Apocalypse within his mindscape, and for a moment, it seems that he can actually win the battle. That is until Apocalypse shows his true power by taking full control over the mindscape. As of now, Apocalypse enlarges his body and slams his own into the tile floor of his mindscape, which has taken the shape of his manor. What can they possibly do? Apocalypse is unbeatable in both the physical and mental world. What else can they do to defeat the mutant god? Xavier's thoughts linger on Jean and her inner power, but he banishes away those thoughts. While it may work, having two mutants with godlike powers fight each other will only end in more disaster. He can calculate that the best-case scenario would be that they all died and half of planet would be destroyed in the process. As he tries to think of another plan, Xavier's eyes widen in both the physical world and his mindscape. Just now, he has felt someone break into his mindscape. Impossible. Charles Xavier's mindscape. Charles isn't the only one who notices the appearance of another person entering the mindscape. His enlarged body turns to face one of the hallways that make up Charles Xavier's mind. In his large right hand is Xavier, who's struggling to break of his hold, and failing. At the end of the hallway, Apocalypse can see the person who has intruded on his business. Who are you? The intruder remains silent, merely staring at the mutant god with a calm and calculating gaze. From Xavier's position of hanging upside down in Apocalypse's hand, all he can see of the mysterious individual is that they have spiky white hair. He would try to get a better view, but he's a bit stuck at the moment. Apocalypse shows his distaste by frowning. Taking a step forward, the floor under the mutant's feet shatters like glass, along with the rest of the mindscape. The mutant god takes a step back, clearly not the one responsible for the sudden change. What used to be Xavier's manor is now a massive sewer with ankle-deep water and a massive golden gate, which makes Apocalypse's enlarged body look tiny in comparison. Whatever may lie behind those golden bars is unknown to Apocalypse, who can only see darkness. The intruder stands in front of the cage and across from Apocalypse, seemingly unaffected by the sudden change in scenery. "What is this?" demanded Apocalypse. With a flick of his wrist, Apocalypse throws Xavier away so he can keep his full attention on the unknown intruder. While he does not know the man's identity, he admits that he is powerful. Not many can take away his control within a mindscape, especially not so easily. Landing in the water face first, Xavier lifts his head out of the water and coughs, having swallowed some water by accident upon landing. With Apocalypse no longer holding him, Charles can now look over to see who the mysterious person is. Immediately, he notices the man's odd sense of style, recognizing his clothing to be a part of the Japanese culture. The man adorns a white kimono that stops over his knees, showing that he's wearing black baggy pants underneath. On his collar is a design of 6 black magatama, and unknown to Charles, there's also a design of a Rinnegan on the back of the kimono. For footwear, the man has on a pair of black sandals. Looking over the man's appearance, Charles notices how young the man looks, appearing to be in his early 20s. On each of his cheeks are 3 black markings, giving off the impression that he has whiskers on his face. The mysterious man's pale skin almost blends with his pure white spiky hair, but his most noticeable feature is the man's set of horns. He almost misses them since they are hidden within the man's spiky white hair. Is he a mutant? If he is, he's no ordinary mutant, that's for sure. With his white clothing, calm expression, and his powerful presence, he appears to be what Mutantkin's version of God would be. While Charles doesn't want to believe it, the mysterious man looks to be a much better representation of a mutant god than Apocalypse. He can only hope that he's on their side. "I'll only ask one last time. Who are you?" asked Apocalypse, voice full of hostility for the mysterious man. Again, the man ignores Apocalypse's demand, although he does lift his right arm in front of himself. Pressing his middle finger against his thumb, the man snaps his fingers so loudly that the sound echoes off the walls of the sewer. The water surrounding the man ripples when he snaps his fingers, smoothing out the water across the sewer. Almost immediately, an insane amount of bloodlust fills the entire mindscape, putting an enormous pressure on everyone's shoulders. While he may not look it, Apocalypse is starting to strain underneath all the bloodlust in the mindscape. In all his 5,000 years of life, Apocalypse has never felt so much bloodlust before. It's taking all of his strength, just so he doesn't show the strain it's putting his body and mind through. While the bloodlust is very distracting, Apocalypse doesn't fail to notice that the origin of the bloodlust isn't coming from the unknown man but rather, whatever is inside the cage. While Apocalypse can remain on his feet, Xavier doesn't have that courtesy. The powerful mutant falls onto his rear, shaking like a leaf while barely able to keep both his consciousness and sanity in check. This bloodlust, it isn't human or mutant. Naruto frowns while he looks over the purple-skinned man in front of him, unaffected by the bloodlust. He can sense so much hatred within the giant, and honestly, it makes him feel disappointed in knowing that even after sealing himself away, there are still those who want nothing more than death and destruction. Even now, he can feel the emotions of those across Earth, and a majority of what he's sensing are negative emotions of all sorts. Even after my disappearance, humanity remains in turmoil, he muttered, somberly. Hatred isn't the only thing Naruto can sense within the giant. He can sense the man's abnormal power, and he's positive that it isn't chakra. It appears similar to yang chakra, yet different. Glancing over at the second occupant of the mindscape, Naruto smiles when he senses the lack of negative emotions within the man's soul. Well, other than fear, of course. It raises the man's spirits, knowing that there's still some good on the planet. Somewhat growing used to the bloodlust, Apocalypse clenches his fists and glares at Naruto. No matter. Your actions speak louder than any words. You are obviously against me. The mutant god takes a step forward and then another until at some stage, he's running at a pace that seems impossible for a man of his size. Once close enough, Apocalypse reels back his right fist and throws a punch straight down on Naruto. Now die! Naruto doesn't flinch away from the attack, simply raising a hand up to catch the punch. He does it so easily and with little to no strain that it surprises both Apocalypse and Xavier. While it's hard to tell for Xavier to know how strong the punch was, he can make an estimate from the way the water disperses from both men. The punch makes contact with the stranger's hand. Naruto tilts his head to the side as he gazes up at the giant in front of him. I don't know why, but you remind me of someone. Apocalypse widens his eyes when he notices that his body is starting to shrink. He tries to use his own power to stop the shrinking process, but it's no good. He remains shrinking until the mutant returns to his proper height, now eye level with the unknown assailant. He winces when the man's hand tightens over his own, cracking bones in the process. I didn't like them. Apocalypse tries to throw a punch with his free hand but stops when Naruto twists his wrist in an angle it's not supposed to be in. Stop this! What are you doing to me? Roared Apocalypse, disliking how powerless he's feeling in this man's presence. Not only are his powers failing him, but he has lost complete control over the mindscape. This has never happened to the mutant god before, and honestly, he doesn't know how to properly handle it. Naruto stares down the mutant god, making sure to twist the man's wrist even more so he can hear him cry. I'm taking over. Behind the golden bars of the gigantic cage, a large red eye with several concentric rings and 10 tomo opens from within the darkness, glaring down at Apocalypse with nothing but pure anger. That is the last thing Apocalypse and Charles Xavier sees before the entire mindscape shatters and they're forcefully thrown out. Charles jerks up for air and scrambles up to the nearby couch, feeling his bones shake in fear. Once he's on the couch, the mutant frantically looks around the destroyed building for a monstrous large eye. Once he realizes that he can't see the large eye or golden cage anywhere near him, Xavier happily sighs. His happiness is soon gone when he remembers where he is and the current events taking place. From his position on the couch, it gives him the perfect view of the battlefield. Apocalypse recovers from being forcefully thrown out of the mindscape and emits more of his power. The energy dome surrounding him quickly expands outwards, knocking aside the nearby mutants, including Storm and Magneto, in the air. The mutants are thrown backwards into buildings and through wall, while Storm and Magneto are thrown even farther into the air. While Storm falls on top of a rooftop, Magneto recovers while in midair and rights himself. With all the annoyances dealt with, Apocalypse places a hand on his head to ease his growing headache. Being forcefully thrown out of a mindscape has given him such a bad headache. All of a sudden, his body tenses when he feels a shift in the wind. Slowly, the mutant god looks up and narrows his eyes when he sees the intruder 100 yards away, standing on top of a pile of rubble that used to be a house. Naruto's calm blue eyes look over his surroundings, noticing more people who possess the odd form of energy that isn't chakra, although none of them hold a candle to what the blue-skinned man possesses. Actually, Naruto glances at the young redhead, sensing something powerful about her. Her inner power is quite impressive, but that's not what he means. He can sense something within her, marking her for something. If he can compare it to anything, it's similar to how he holds the 10-tailed demon in his body. Although, she only possesses a measly piece of whatever entity that's within her. He'll have to keep an eye on her. Apocalypse narrows his eyes on the stranger, wondering why he can't sense the man's power. Many millennium ago, Apocalypse stole the ability to sense power levels from another mutants, giving him the perfect method to search for candidates to become his 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So, why can't he use that same power to sense the mysterious man's energy? If not for me seeing him with my own 2 eyes, I would think that he doesn't exist. Naruto turns away from the other mutants to look over at the mutant god who has been emitting his power to increasing levels. At first, he would have liked to end this confrontation peacefully, but from the amount of negativity he can sense within the man, he believes it to be past the point of no return. Only someone who wants nothing but death and destruction could have that much hatred in their soul. So, Naruto appears right in front of Apocalypse, surprising the mutant god by his speed. Apocalypse throws a punch, but it sails right through Naruto, indicating that Apocalypse just punched his afterimage. Sensing a shift in the wind behind him, Apocalypse quickly turns around, only to see the young mutant who can shoot optic beams from his eyes. The young mutant tenses, but Apocalypse dismisses the mutant as no threat. Again, the wind shifts to his right and Apocalypse turns, seeing nothing but the beastly blue-haired mutant. "Where are you? Show yourself, you coward, and face the wrath of a god!" demanded Apocalypse, shaking the earth from the amount of power he's releasing. The nearby mutants all fall to their knees, losing their balance from the earthquake that takes place right underneath their feet. Very well. Apocalypse's eyes widen when he hears the voice speak over his shoulder. Before he can turn around, a hand clamps down on his shoulder, and the next thing the mutant kid knows, he's sailing through dozens of buildings, separating him and the other mutants by miles. Apocalypse loses count of the amount of buildings he goes through, but he eventually does slow down enough for him to flip backwards and slide to a stop. Grunting slightly, the god of mutants raises to his full height, while his broken muscles and bones heal themselves. As he looks through the trail of destroyed buildings, he can see the annoyance is already in front of him, having traveled miles in seconds. Having lost his patience, Apocalypse raises both his hands up, levitating all the nearby rubble and piling it all into one big ball. Then, the ball of rubble disintegrates into acidic sand. Thrusting his hands forward, the mutant god sends the sand towards the annoyance. Naruto has to crane his neck up so he can see the top of the giant wave of sand. Noticing that anything that touches the wave of sand disintegrates, he decides that it's probably a good thing for him not to touch it. Just as the wave of sand is about to engulf him, it spreads apart and sails past him in a safe distance, due to Naruto taking away Apocalypse's control over the sand. The wave of sand twists around Naruto, stopping just behind him, hovering over him, almost like a protective mother. Apocalypse has barely a few seconds to realize what has just happened before he has to summon his energy shield to block the wave of acidic sand. While the sand can't touch the mutant god while he's in his shield, it does start to bury him under the deadly particles, putting more weight on him by the second. Figuring out that the sand is increasing in weight, Apocalypse retreats by teleporting to a safe distance so he can get his bearings. The mutant god appears on the rooftop of an intact building, miles away from where his opponent is. "Where do you think you're going?" That is what Apocalypse thought, but he turns around, and as much as he hates, the unknown intruder is standing across from him on the exact same rooftop. Apocalypse takes a step back from the unknown. "Impossible! What kind of mutant are you?" Naruto raises a brow, curious over the term mutant. Apocalypse glares and aims his right hand at Naruto, firing a powerful beam of molecular energy. However, by the time the beam of energy is halfway across the rooftop, Naruto is beside Apocalypse and holding his offending limb upwards into the air. Naruto's other hand grasps Apocalypse's skull and jumps. The force in the jump is so strong that Apocalypse's body is struggling against the man's grip and the friction in the wind. 3 seconds later and Naruto has jumped past the cloud, hovering in the air for a moment. Pulling back his arm, Naruto throws the mutant god back down to earth, watching as the mutant falls like a falling meteor. As the X-Men recover and wonder what has just happened, none of them notice the incoming mutant until Apocalypse collides with the floor, causing an explosion of rubble to fly upwards into the air. Once the rubble subsides, everyone looks to see a massive crater in front of them. And in the center of the crater is none other than Apocalypse, already healing from the damage. Apocalypse groans as he feels his bones reset and his muscles stitched back together. Slowly, he opens his eyes to see Naruto standing over his prone body. Naruto looks over the mutant god in curiosity, watching as his injuries heal almost instantly. Tell me, do all mutants possess instant regeneration or is it just you? It isn't like he's worried over fighting an immortal, since he knows several methods to dealing with them. However, as he watches the mutant's injuries heal, he sees an image of a white-haired man in a black cloak with red clouds designs. He can't recall the man's name, only remembering that he once possessed immortality and had a seriously bad mouth on him. Naruto adorns a thoughtful expression, thinking about the black cloak with red cloud designs. For some reason, he knows that the cloak has a deep meaning, but he can't remember what it is. However, he does remember the name of the organization that once used the cloak's design. Akatsuki. You! Growled Apocalypse, angered over the man's blatant disrespect, as well as his overwhelming power. How can he be losing so easily when he is the most powerful mutant on the planet? Pushing himself onto his feet, Apocalypse's eyes widen as he calls forth his full power. As Apocalypse releases his full power, the earth begins to shake once more, causing everyone but Naruto to lose their footing. Naruto remains in place, using his chakra to stick his feet to the floor. The Sage of Six Paths watches in curiosity as the earth shakes uncontrollably and dark clouds start to cover the sky. The sound of thunder echoes while lightning is visible from within the dark clouds. None shall escape the wrath of God! Roared Apocalypse, raising both of his hands over his head, increasing his power tenfold. The mutant god looks over at his enemy, feeling a little pity for him. After all, not many can witness instantaneous death. Using his full power, he'll be surprised if the country isn't split apart by the aftermath. Now, Apocalypse drops his arms down so he can unleash his full power, only for a hand to grasp his face, cracking his skull from the amount of force being used. So much hatred in one soul. Between the gaps of his assailant's fingers, Apocalypse can barely make out the man's facial expression. What he can make out is his blue eyes changing shape and color. What used to be a pair of sparkling blue eyes that are as blue as the ocean, are now a pair of powerful purple eyes with concentric rings and tentomo. If he could, Apocalypse would widen his eyes in horror, recognizing those eyes as the same one from behind the golden cage. Even now, he can sense the almighty power within those eyes, dwarfing his own power. Ignoring how Apocalypse's blue skin has gone a lot paler, Naruto summons forth the power of the human path. As much as he tries, Apocalypse can't get out of his enemy's hold. He tries to summon any of his many abilities and yet, they all fail him. He can't even teleport himself away, leaving him at the mercy of his enemy. All of a sudden, the mutant feels something amiss with his body. For some reason, he almost feels free. Disliking with what's happening to him, Apocalypse tries to lift his hand to grasp his enemy's arm, only for him to realize that he can't feel his arm. In fact, he can't really feel much of anything. His arms, legs, chest, and even face all grow numb, leaving him feeling like an empty husk. By the time he tries to pull away, it's already too late. With a strong pull, Naruto rips out the soul of Apocalypse. The surrounding X-Men can only watch the event take place, all feeling a mixture of awe, disbelief, horror, and a little bit of fear. They all just witnessed an unknown man beat Apocalypse around like a rag doll, and pull out what looks to be an ethereal version of the mutant god. While they aren't sure what the white-haired man did, it's enough to finally put down the mutant god, shown by how the man lets go of Apocalypse's face, dropping the mutant onto his stomach with no sign of life. Slowly, Naruto starts to absorb the mutant's soul, including his memories. Once the absorption is complete, Naruto stands in silence as he watches all of Apocalypse's memories. He sees everything through the mutant's eyes, watching Apocalypse's birth, his rough adolescent life, his discovery of his mutant powers, his rise to power, and even when Apocalypse's followers eventually betrayed him. Not only does Naruto learn about Apocalypse's life story, he learns about the world and what has happened to it since his disappearance. In his mind is every little piece of information that has passed for the last 2,000 years, giving the Sage of Six Paths an understanding of Earth's history. And he isn't happy with what he learns. While history only dates back past 2,000 years, most of it is filled with nothing but death and misery, with humanity right in the center of it all. Apparently, chakra and the knowledge of it has faded throughout history, meaning that humans can no longer use it to cause death and destruction across the planet. Unfortunately, they have found new weapons to replace chakra and the Biju. Now, they use weapons and bombs to take away the lives of their fellow man. And for what? Resources? Ideology? Power? It appears to me that it will take more than my disappearance to make true peace come true, thought Naruto, glaring at nothing. While he may not notice, his glare has many of the surrounding mutants flinch or tense up. Maybe it's about time I take a more straightforward approach. Before he leaves, Naruto glances at the corpse of Apocalypse. He could prove to be useful. Violet flames erupts behind Apocalypse's corpse, startling many of the viewing mutants. Their surprise only increases when a large, white head pops out of the violet flames. The head is as large as a 2-story house and has a set of Rinnegan as its eyes. Its closed mouth unzips itself and opens wide before 3 hand-like tentacles reach out of it and grabs Apocalypse's body. Naruto doesn't bat an eyelash as the King of Hell devours Apocalypse's corpse. Once its cargo is secure, the King of Hell retreats back into the violet flames before said flames disperse. Naruto's attention is taken away when he hears the sound of a cocking gun behind him. Looking over his shoulder, he sees that one of the mutants is now standing with him in the crater, aiming a handgun at him. If not for Apocalypse's memories, he wouldn't even know that the object she's holding is a weapon in the first place. From Apocalypse's memories, the mutant who's threatening him with a gun has the ability to change her appearance, no matter the gender. While useless in a fight, it can be quite useful for assassination and recon missions. He knows, seeing as the ability is standard procedure back in his time. He had sensed her move the instant she took her first step, but he didn't stop her. While it may appear arrogant, he admits that she is of little threat to him, especially when compared to the other surrounding mutants. While she may not look it, she's actually terrified of him. With the ability to sense emotions, he can tell what someone is actually feeling, even if they're trying to hide their emotions behind a fake mask. The blue-skinned mutant isn't the only one who's terrified of him. He can sense the emotions of the other mutants, and they're feeling the exact same fearful emotion as their comrade, especially the crippled mutant. It isn't like he can blame them for being scared of him. From what he can recall from Apocalypse's memories, all of them were fighting the mutant god together and failing to deal a scratch on him. Actually, the mutant across from him is the only one who actually managed to do any lethal damage to Apocalypse, doing so by hiding behind the face of one of his allies before slicing his throat wide open. While that plan would have worked on most people, it didn't work on Apocalypse. The fatal wound only stunned the fake god for a second before it regenerated. Hence, he left out the middleman and pulled out the man's soul, leaving the immortal body intact. Immortality does absolute squat when the body is lacking a soul. "Who are you?" demanded Raven, glaring at the unknown individual. "Stop it, Raven!" yelled Xavier from the edge of the crater. His arms are currently wrapped over Scott's and Jean's shoulders, allowing him to move without the use of his wheelchair. He shouts at Raven, wanting her to get away from the obviously dangerous man. At this point, he's not even sure if the white-haired individual is human or a mutant. No mutant or human could have defeated the likes of Apocalypse so easily. Xavier attempts to take over Raven's mind so he can force her out of there, but he widened his eyes in shock when he feels something blocking his telepathy. Raven ignores Xavier, preferring to get the answer to her question. "I'll ask one last time. Who the hell are you?" she demanded, louder than before. Naruto looks over the mutant for a moment before he glances over to the rest of the mutants. From their stances, they are ready to step in and fight him if he attempts something against the blue-skinned redhead. Not like they're in good condition to fight him anyway. While they hide it well, they are all exhausted from fighting Apocalypse and his 4 horsemen. Besides, he doesn't want to fight them anyway. He can sense the good in all their souls, so that puts them in his good books. As he looks over the several mutants, his blue eyes linger on the redhead for a second longer than anyone else. Space rips apart behind Naruto as he summons a dimensional portal to transport him away. He turns around and walks towards it, ignoring everyone else around him. Of course, the rip of space catches Raven off guard and she fires a bullet at the Sage of 6 Paths. The bullet never hits its mark, seemingly disappearing in midair. Naruto stops when he's only a single step away from the portal. He looks over his shoulder at Raven and offers a playful smirk, opening his right hand and dropping a lone bullet. Afterwards, he walks into the portal which closes behind him, leaving a group of befuddled and confused mutants. 6 months later, Xavier's mansion. "Never pegged her as a teacher," chuckled Magneto, or rather, Eric Lenscher. No longer is he in his Magneto gear and is instead wearing common civilian clothing. He adorns a simple light blue blazer, a black shirt, a pair of simple blue jeans and brown shoes. True. But who else can teach the children on how to protect themselves? asked Charles Xavier, humorously from his wheelchair. Both men are currently underneath the recently reconstructed mansion, watching as the newest recruits for the X-Men train under the watchful eye of their new instructor, Raven. They are all wearing the uniforms that signify them as members of the X-Men. After spending a few minutes watching Scott practice with his new visor and Pietro blurring around the training facility, Eric decides to get straight down to business. Find anything on our mysterious savior yet? Xavier's proud smile drops as the mutant sighs in frustration. No, sadly. I've yet to discover any information on the man. Neither the FBI files or Cerebro were of any help. From what I've gathered, the man doesn't exist. Eric frowns, clearly not happy with the lack of progress. How is that possible? Cerebro was designed to find any mutant on the planet. It sorta hurts the mutant's pride, seeing as Cerebro is both his and Charles's proudest creation. As hard as you might believe, it's quite possible that the man isn't even a mutant, answered Charles. Eric folds his arms across his chest. You don't actually think that would have mattered, do you? Xavier closes his eyes and shakes his head. Honestly, even if the mysterious stranger isn't a mutant, Cerebro should have been capable to find the high energy levels of the man who managed to kill the mutant god. Yet, Cerebro can't find any trace of the man. With no files, no name, and no way to find him, it's like they're searching for a ghost. Dark times are coming, Charles, warned Eric, watching as Raven barks orders at the X-Men recruits. We may not be able to see them now, but dark clouds are coming and I fear we won't be prepared when the time comes. And here I thought I was the psychic, joked Charles, trying to make light of the situation. From the tension in the air, it's obvious that his choice of humor isn't appreciated. At the very least we know he isn't hostile towards us. For now. What do you mean by that? Eric shrugs his shoulders. As you said, we have no information on the stranger. We don't know who he is or where he comes from. All we have on him is his appearance, and the fact that he killed the most powerful mutant on the planet. Xavier nods in agreement. True. However, he didn't show hostility towards us in the aftermath. It isn't like he couldn't have killed us after defeating Apocalypse. Eric turns and looks down at his friend's broken body. I won't pretend that I know all the answers. All I'm saying is that we should be careful and prepare for the worst. What's to stop him from coming to your school and causing havoc? He asked, waving a hand towards the open doorway where the X-Men trainees are practicing with their powers. Charles swerves his wheelchair to face Eric, glaring up at Magneto with cold steel in his eyes. Then he will be sorry that he came here to cause trouble for my students. Eric smirks over his friend's reply, enjoying the man's overprotectiveness for the younger mutants. I'm just saying, Charles. He's a powerful unknown that must not be overlooked. Charles turns his chair to face the open doorway. While he doesn't verbally respond, the mutant does nod to show he agrees with Magneto. He watches as Storm practices with his lightning manipulation, biting his bottom lip. Do you have to go? Eric smiles, deciding to quit talking about the unknown stranger for now. He pats his friend on the shoulder. You know I can't stay here. Not for long anyway. The truth is, he is still on the world's most wanted list for his assassination attempt on the US president on national television. The last thing Charles needs is for the US government to come knocking on his door. Where will you go? Eric gives one last glance to the X-Men recruits, eyeing Pietro for a moment. Looking away, he turns and presses the button to call the elevator. You're psychic, Charles. You'll know where I am, answered Eric, smirking in good nature. Xavier watches his students train, never once taking his eyes off of them. Goodbye, old friend. Eric nods and smiles. Goodbye, Professor. With their goodbye said, Eric enters the elevator and heads back up to the surface. Charles continued to watch as his students train under Raven, but his mind is thinking about different matters. He thinks back to his experience with the unknown man from 6 months ago. The man who has not only saved their lives, but the lives of every human and mutant on the planet, and nobody else will ever know. For a moment, a memory of that sewer flashes before Xavier's eyes, making him gasp and hold his hands together to stop them from shaking. That eye! He has only caught a glimpse of the eye for only a short moment, yet it still made quite an expression on him. Whatever is behind that cage, it's massive, powerful, and very, very angry. As Xavier controls the shaking of his arms, he looks back to his students, hoping that whatever dangers come in the future, they'll be ready. Years later, Gotham City. Many years have passed since the incident with Apocalypse, and the world has eventually recovered from the destruction caused by both Apocalypse and Magneto. Buildings have been rebuilt, bodies have been buried, and the world governments have taken back control of their countries. In the end, the planet seems to have been brought to a state of peace. Peace is only a temporary solution, thought Naruto, staring down at a warehouse as he hovers in the air. Over the years, Naruto has watched on as events pass by him, without ever aging. He has witnessed babies take their first breaths into life, as well as the elderly take their last on their deathbeds. He has also watched as villains wreak havoc across the planet, while the heroes fail to protect the lives of innocents, due to their incompetence. Even after his sacrifice, Naruto has discovered that the planet remains to be the cornerstone of where evil lurks in every shadow. Across the planet, people continue to kill, rape, and steal with smiles on their wretched faces. What's worse, evil has grown so out of control that it has given birth to those who have been labeled supervillains. They are labeled as such because of them possessing either inhuman powers or special skills that make them a threat so large that regular police officers can't handle them. That's where the heroes step in. And where Naruto's disappointment continues. At first, Naruto is delighted to know that there are people out there who go out of their way to protect the innocent and fight the villains of the world. His delight soon fades when he takes a closer look in what the so-called heroes are actually doing. While the people believe that the heroes, such as the Justice League, are making a difference, Naruto sees the idiotic truth. The truth is, all the heroes are doing is continuing the cycle of death and destruction. A villain would go out of their way to take the lives of innocents for greedy and selfish reasons, while the heroes would swoop in and defeat said villain, supposedly avenging the people who have lost their lives. Yet, each of the heroes make the same mistake by allowing the villains to live and to be taken away by the authorities and put into prison. By doing so, many of the villains would soon find themselves back out on the streets, courtesy of a very good lawyer, bribery, or by a forceful escape. Once they're back out on the streets, they continue their killing spree, and so, the circle of death and destruction continues. While the heroes may think they're actually doing good by keeping the moral high ground and not killing, all they're really doing is adding to the body count. By not ending the pathetic lives of the villains, they're as accountable to the lives lost as the villains. If the Justice League won't spill the necessary blood, he will have to do it himself. After all, the villains can't take away innocent lives if they're dead. However, even with his godlike powers, Naruto knows that it'll take more than him to actually spread his influence. That's why he will reform a long-lost group that once brought fear and terror to the planet during his own time. The Akatsuki? And what better way to spread fear to the criminal underworld than by killing one of the biggest villains? Tonight the Clown Prince of Crime dies. From his position in the air, Naruto can count 4 of Joker's goons on the rooftop of the warehouse, all handling an assault rifle each and keeping watch for anyone who might want to bring the Joker to justice. In other words, they are looking out for Batman. Many times, Naruto has watched Batman take down men like the 4 goons in half a minute. For the likes of Naruto, it took him half a second to kill all 4 men. While invisible to the naked eye, a thin, but powerful bolt of lightning bounces off the skulls of each of the 4 men, frying their brains and killing them instantly while Naruto calmly floats down to the rooftop. Slowly, he walks to an open window on the roof and jumps through it, landing on an overhanging catwalk and doing so without making any sound whatsoever. The first thing the Sage of 6 Paths notices is how annoyingly colorful the room is. Colors ranging from the brightest of colors has been painted across the walls with no actual pattern to it. To add to the warehouse's bright colors, colorful toys litter the floor, ranging from tiny robots to 7-foot teddy bears. The innocence of the toys are lost to him when he sees the few boxes of weaponry beside them, as well as the pacing and obviously angry Joker. Glancing around the warehouse, Naruto sees that the Joker has 5 hired goons at his disposal, with each one dressed as oddly as the room itself. Where one is dressed like a teddy bear, another can be found dressed in a cheap costume of Batman. "That stupidly idiotic woman!" yelled the Joker, kicking aside a nearby teddy bear. Wisely, the goons remains quiet and pray that their boss doesn't ease his stress on them. The last time someone smart-mouthed the Joker, he ended up in a barrel of acid and shipped off to who knows where. "That bitch just couldn't stop herself from getting caught. Again! She best pray that she rots in her cell before I get my hands on her," growled the Joker while making clenching motions with his hands. Just under 24 hours, he and Harley have been cruising around the streets of Gotham for a joyride, causing a few bits of mayhem at the same time. And as per usual, Batman shows up to ruin their fun. With his own great sense of humor, Joker found it funny to drive the car into the nearby canal to get Batman off his trail. That's just before Harley started bitching about not being able to swim. Now she's back in Arkham and he's one woman down for his next bank job. One of Joker's more braver goons steps forward. "Should I make a few calls and get her out, boss? Don't you fucking think about it," raved the Joker, disturbing the goon by getting into his personal space. Quickly, Joker's glare changed to a smirk when he notices his goon's nervousness. "What's wrong with you? Never danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?" Before the goon can make up an excuse, a kunai quickly finds itself lodged into his skull. Joker merely blinks as his goon drops dead in front of him. Glancing down, he sees his goon lay on the floor, dead and bleeding from the skull. He actually finds the sight humorous. Reeling his head back, Joker laughs as the rest of his goons lift their assault rifles to the catwalk, expecting to see Batman, but Joker knows better. With all his years dealing with Batman, he knows that the last thing the masked vigilante will do is kill someone, no matter how annoying they are. He's living proof. No! There's someone else hiding in the shadows of his hideout. Someone new. Someone fun. Spotting a shade of white, Joker looks up at the catwalk and grins so widely that it actually looks deformed. "Who's this? A new player in our little game of cat and mouse? And you aren't even wearing a mask?" He laughed, pointing at Naruto as if he's the funniest man he has ever met. Naruto stares down at the green-haired man, feeling so much negativity within him that it's making him feel sick. For a moment, an image of a man with long black hair and wearing red armor shadows over Joker's person before it vanishes, making Naruto frown. While curious, he ignores it for now so he can accomplish tonight's goal. After doing his research on the Clown Prince of Crime, Naruto found himself somewhat surprised to know that the Joker doesn't have any superpowers of his own. How many villains can brag about being one of the best and not have the help of powers? What the Joker lacks in superhuman abilities, he makes up for it with his ruthlessness, unpredictability, and clever weaponry. Even with no powers for his own, thousands of lives have been lost by the Joker's hands, each either being a man, woman, or child. For every person he causes pain and suffering, the Joker merely laughs. Tonight, Naruto will finally accomplish the inevitable. Tonight, he will avenge the deceased and kill the Joker. "I'm not sure you understand, kiddo, but you're playing with the big boys now," said the Joker, reaching into his purple coat and pulling out a revolver with an extra long barrel. "So why don't you scurry on off, eh?" With a laugh, he fires his revolver at Naruto. Without so much as blinking, Naruto catches the bullet in between his fingers, surprising the goons from his inhuman feat. Joker merely smirks at the sight. Aiming, Naruto flicks the bullet straight towards one of the goons. In supersonic speeds, the bullet rips through the goon's skull, but it doesn't end there. With a small bit of chakra manipulation, Naruto controls the trajectory of the bullet after it jumps out of the goon's skull and controls it to pierce through the skulls of the other goons. The goons soon collapse dead with a smoking hole in their heads. Joker chuckles, seemingly unaffected by Naruto's efficiency to killing his men. "Well, aren't you a big ball of excitement?" he laughed. "And here I thought Batman was the big boss in Gotham." Shrugging his shoulders, Joker makes a run for a pile of crates. Jumping off of the catwalk, Naruto seems to glide to the floor, watching as the Joker makes a run for the crates. He allows the villain to do so, knowing that he can kill the insane clown anytime he wants. Following after him, Naruto slowly walks towards the crates, only to stop halfway when he hears the sound of an engine turn on. He raises a brow when the crates shatter as a bright purple car drives through them, bearing the Joker's sick smile on the front of the vehicle's hood. Within the car, Joker laughs as he steers the car towards Naruto, intending to run him over. Yet, Naruto remains in place, staring at the incoming car with a blank expression. All of a sudden, the Joker jerks forwards and bangs his forehead against the steering wheel when his car suddenly stops. "What the hell is the big idea?" yelled the Joker, shaking his fist with one hand while using the other to rub his sore head. He stops what he's doing when he sees that Naruto is standing in front of his car, holding it back with one hand. Literally, Naruto's fingers have dug into the car's hood, bending metal with the greatest ease. Never once flinching, Naruto uses his one hand to lift the vehicle over his head, carrying the car as if it weighs nothing. With a simple flick of the wrist, the car ends up flying towards one of the warehouse's walls, performing several flips while in midair before crashing into the wall. As the ruined car starts to emit smoke, The car's driver door is kicked open and a wounded, if not alive, Joker crawls out of the wreckage. "I'm one for jokes, but this isn't funny," muttered Joker with a dry laugh, before wincing from the deep cut in his hip. The Joker stops crawling when he sees a pair of feet and sandals in front of his face. "You're still here?" he deadpanned. Naruto doesn't reply, preferring to grab the Joker roughly by his neck and hoist him up with his feet dangling in the air. Activating his Rinna Sharingan, Naruto summons the King of Hell behind him, much to the surprise of the Joker. The King of Hell opens his mouth wide open and a tentacle-like appendage shoots out and grabs the Joker's tongue. No sooner does the appendage grab the Joker's tongue than it starts to pull at it. The Joker must have found something funny about it because he starts to laugh, even as the King of Hell painfully pulls at his tongue. Not long after, the Joker's insane laughter goes silent once the King of Hell pulls out his tongue, ending the life of the Clown Prince of Crime. Now that is done and over with. Turning away from the sight of the King of Hell devouring the Joker's corpse, Naruto walks towards one of the warehouse's undamaged walls to mark the start of change. Batman hums to himself as he looks over the odd symbol that has been etched into one of the walls in the warehouse. A cloud? Could be a symbol or someone sending a message. I'll have Barbara look into it, he thought, taking pictures of the large cloud symbol with the hidden camera in his mask. Behind him, Bruce can hear the police and medical personnel talk with each other, with some wondering what happened. Just from a glance of the decorations, Bruce can make an experienced guess that the warehouse was recently used as a hideout for the Joker. Nobody else, but the Joker has the disturbing sense of humor to fill a warehouse with colorful toys and dangerous weapons. However, it's obvious someone else knew about this as well. He has already recognized the corpses to be former goons of the Joker. That isn't too odd, due to the Joker having the tendency to kill a few of his own men when bored. But what's odd is that the men were killed in strange ways. One of the 5 was killed from a knife that cut through his skull with the mysterious weapon missing, and the rest were killed by a single bullet through the skull. He would suspect the perpetrator to be Jason or maybe even Deadshot, but that doesn't explain the 4 dead men on the roof who have their brains dripping out of their ears. Glancing to the right, Bruce sees the Joker's car, which has been thrown into the wall. From the cracks covering the wall and the damage done to the vehicle, it's obvious that the one responsible is someone who possesses superhuman strength, or has technology which grants them enhanced strength. He doesn't miss the fingertip dents in the hood of the destroyed vehicle, meaning that the perpetrator caught the vehicle from there. It's painfully obvious from the crime scene that the Joker was attacked in his own hideout. Having already taken a blood sample from the blood at the crime scene, Batman frowns in thought. What really has Batman curious is who could have attacked the Joker. Not a lot of people are brave enough to actually attack the Clown Prince of Crime. Whoever does so tend to regret it almost immediately. But from the wreckage, dead bodies and blood stains, whoever did this is sending a message. They aren't afraid. With another hum, Batman turns and heads back to inform the League with what happened. While there, he can inform Barbara about the cloud symbol so she can start her search on it, as well as look over the blood sample he found. There you are. On top of one of Gotham's many skyscrapers, one of the city's most well-known characters can be found. Red Hood tilts his sniper rifle slightly to the left so he can keep his scope on his target, who goes by the name Big Daddy. Obviously, he could have searched for the crime boss's real name, but that would only cost him money and time. To be honest, him knowing the man's real name wouldn't change his fate. Big Daddy is known in the underworld as an upstart crime boss who is starting to lead the underground slave trade. He is the reason why young women have been taken away from their families and friends, so they can be drugged up and sold into sexual slavery for whoever has the wealth and lack of morals to do so. Of course, being in such a business quickly gained him the attention of the former boy wonder, who is currently watching Big Daddy walk through the hallway of a skyscraper's 30th floor, directly across from the rooftop he's currently standing on. Jason narrows his eyes as he watches the large man who is wearing an expensive-looking white suit that's straining from his large stomach. As expected of someone in his line of work, Big Daddy has 4 muscular men in black suits surrounding him on all sides, protecting their employer from any threat that may get in their way. Sadly for them, they can't protect their boss from Red Hood. After making sure that his aim is right and that the wind is light, Red Hood pulls the trigger and watched as his bullet pierces through the glass window pane before drilling a lovely hole through the temple of Big Daddy's skull. Nice shot. Without even turning to see who that voice belongs to, Red Hood drops his sniper rifle and rolls away, already firing at the direction of the voice with his dual pistols. Foul bullets are shot, and none of them managed to hit its intended target. Heart, lungs, and brain. Impressive accuracy. If I was anyone else, I'd be dead instantly, said Naruto, smiling as the bullets hover in front of him, harmlessly. A second later, the 4 bullets dropped to the floor, surprising Red Hood. While caught off guard, Jason isn't known to quit so easily. Narrowing his eyes, he empties the rest of the clips in his pistols with each shot stopping in front of Naruto, hovering in the air. Enough of that. Without so much as a twitch, Naruto uses magnet release to pull Jason's guns out of his hands. As they float beside Naruto, the weapons crush themselves into 2 separate balls of useless metal before dropping to the floor. This does little to discourage Red Hood, who pulls out a large combat knife from the back of his pants and charges at Naruto. Thrusting the knife to Naruto's stomach, Jason finds himself even more surprised when the knife bends inwards before it can stab into flesh. Somersaulting away, Jason looks over his ruined knife and scowls under his mask. His knife has been specifically made by him to cut through Batman's wires, which can hold back the likes of Bane. Now it's a useless pile of metal. Throwing away his knife, Red Hood gets into a fighting stance. Whatever he's doing, it's related to metals, he thought, believing that is why his bullets and knife was ineffective against the man. Running towards him, Jason swings his leg high and aims for the man's temple. However, his limb is stopped by an unknown force before it can make contact. What? So his powers aren't metal-based? Taking a step back, Red Hood throws a punch, only for him to be repelled backwards by an invisible force. Groggily, he stands back up and glares at the white-haired man who hasn't moved from his spot once. Who the hell are you? Another member of the League? Naruto shakes his head. No. Just someone who's looking for hopeful recruits. And I'm one of the lucky chosen ones, I take it? Said Jason, sarcastically. Correct, nodded Naruto. Naruto turns and walks to the edge of the building, and Jason watches every step the unknown man makes. He notes how silent the man's footsteps are, lacking any sound. Calmly, Naruto stares out at Gotham City, sensing so much negativity within it. Don't you want to clean the streets? He asked, frowning at the large negativity source that calls itself Gotham. End all crime in the city? I don't know what rock you crawled yourself out of, but I'm already cleaning up the streets, stated Jason, folding his arms across his chest. Naruto allows a small, but sad smile to stretch across his lips. You are trying, and I commend you for doing so. However, nothing you do will end the constant crime and death in Gotham. Naruto tilted his head backwards to avoid the throwing knife Jason just threw at him. And what? You think that what I'm doing is wrong? That we should just lock up the scum of the earth, only for them to get out of prison and kill again? That doesn't work, roared Jason in rage. At one point in time, Jason actually thought the system worked. That was a time where he wasn't the infamous Red Hood and instead, Robin. As Robin, he worked with Bruce to take down the many criminals and villains that litter the streets of Gotham, and in his naivety, he allowed them to walk away, alive. It's only after his death by the Joker's hand that he realizes the truth in the system. And the truth is that the system doesn't work. After all, if Bruce just killed off the Joker before he became such a household name, he wouldn't have lost his own life. Naruto faces Red Hood and smiles. And I agree. Naruto doesn't need to see under Jason's mask to know that he's looking at him, quizzically. You have taken over most of the gangs in Gotham so you can control crime on the inside. Whoever doesn't follow your orders, you kill without question. You kill villains and criminals whenever you get the chance. I like that. Jason narrows his eyes. Then I take it you aren't with the Justice League. He says it as more of a statement than a question. Every member of the Justice League is as naive as he used to be, and so they wouldn't talk about killing the scum of Earth so easily. Naruto smirks in amusement. If I was a member of the League, would I not try to stop you? After all, I did just see you kill a man, he said, looking over at the skyscraper where Big Daddy's corpse remains. True, muttered Jason in agreement. While he isn't willing to get violent, Jason makes sure to keep his guard up around the man. Something that Naruto inwardly applauds him for. But how do I know you aren't just talking big? How about I just show you? Before Jason can ask what he means by that, Naruto's Rinne Sharingan eyes blare to life. Violet flames erupt behind him as the King of Hell rises from the fire. Red Hood takes a step back, ready to jump of the building if he sees any act of aggression. Naruto steps to the side as the King of Hell spits out a large object from of its mouth. Said object slides in front of Jason, who looks down at it, and widens his eyes in awe at the sight. Lying by his feet, dead as a doorbell, is none other than the Joker. No way! Gasped Jason in disbelief before he looks back up at Naruto. The man who has somehow managed to do what he has constantly failed at, and killed the Joker. Who in the hell are you? Just a simple man who wants to change the world for the better. Simple my ass, thought Jason. No simple man could kill the likes of the Joker. This group of yours, what is it called? Akatsuki. Not a name I would pick out, but whatever, shrugged Red Hood. And there are others? Who share our ideology? No. Naruto looks back out to face the city. Batman may think he's doing the city a favor, but all he's doing is putting fuel into the fire. Families are destroyed every day because he refuses to kill those who are responsible. Now with the Joker dead, he can no longer continue his reign of death in Gotham, forever saving the lives of his future victims. And he's just a stepping stone. But I can convince them otherwise. Red Hood slowly nods and takes a spot beside Naruto, folding his arms across his chest. So, when do we start? Overhead the unsuspecting city, the Akatsuki have been reformed. Where are we? Gasped Red Hood as he looks around the new scenery of plant life. 1 second, he's standing on top of a building in the middle of Gotham City, and the next, he's in what looks like an underground cave with wide fields of grass and a gentle river that splits down the middle of it. The source of the river is a large waterfall that is pouring down a hole from the ceiling of the cave, which is also the only source of sunlight. It wasn't sunny at Gotham the last time I checked, thought Red Hood, remembering that it was the middle of the night just a second ago. This will be the hideout for the Akatsuki, at least unofficially. It's untraceable, so I highly doubt that anyone from the Justice League can find this location, said Naruto as he sits down on the grass and watches the river flow by. He has always found it peaceful and relaxing to watch nature at its finest. And pray tell, how did we get here? And where is here in the first place? Asked Red Hood, looking over at the stranger who he has yet to get a name off of. With the sudden intrusion and the discovery of Joker's death, he never had the chance to ask. By the way, got a name I can call ya? Naruto stares at a nearby bed of lilies, contemplating on a name. Just like everyone else with powers, he's going to need a name or title. Some way for the people to address him when the time comes. I'm Sage. Red Hood raises a brow from underneath his mask. That's it? No overdramatic name like Superman or the Green Lantern? Naruto turns to look at Red Hood from over his shoulder. I was gonna, but Red Hood was taken. The sarcasm pouring out of Naruto's tone could literally drown the former boy wonder. Touché. Red Hood snaps his fingers before eventually taking a seat on a nearby boulder. You still haven't told me where we are and how we got here. For where we are, we're in my own personal dimension. Away from all prying eyes and open ears. Simply said Naruto. Red Hood stares at Naruto with a hint of disbelief. Yes, there have been rumors of the Justice League and a few others traveling through space and dimensions, but he has never seen or experienced dimension travel before. Taking a closer look of the underground exterior, he does notice a few plants that don't look too normal, not even to poison ivy's standards. The bedrock making up the underground walls are also shaped and colored weirdly. So you've noticed, said Naruto with a small smirk. When there are plants staring at you with sharp teeth and drool, you tend to notice, replied Red Hoof with a shake of his head. So I'm not one to hate nature and whatnot, but when do we start? He asked in a bit of impatience. There's so many criminals to kill, and with a team, he could finally kill off some of the bigger names like Scarecrow and Bane. While he may be good, he isn't ballsy enough to take down the people who have a lot more men ready to handle him if necessary. First off, we must find more members. We won't be able to spread our influence with only the two of us, answered Naruto with Red Hood nodding in agreement. He needs strong and motivated members with a wide range of skills. He thinks of a few skills he wants in his group, such as the muscle and a technician. Any ideas on new members? Asked Red Hood. Naruto hums to himself over the thought of who he should recruit. He has a few names on the list from a few rumors he has been hearing, and it just so happens that a majority of them are occupying the most secure prison in Gotham City. I have a few ideas. While I'm out recruiting, you can stay here and get to know the layout. I shouldn't be long anyway. Before Red Hood can argue, Naruto vanishes from sight and disappears from the dimension altogether in search for recruits to join the Akatsuki. Jackass, muttered Red Hood as he folds his arms. With nothing else to do until his ride out of wherever he is comes back, the former apprentice of Batman gets up from the boulder and heads out to look around, although he makes sure to stand clear of the violet plants that are still eyeing him with hungry look. Gotham City, Arkham Asylum. Floating overhead of the infamous prison/rehabilitation clinic is Naruto. Keeping him afloat in midair are 6 truth-seeking balls that are floating behind him. Usually, he would have been seen by someone since a man in the air always grabs attention, but with it being the middle of the night, the cloak of darkness shields him from any prying eyes. With the Rinne Sharingan activated, he uses his powerful eyes to scan the layout of Arkham Asylum to see if there's anything that might hinder his progress for finding recruits for the Akatsuki. Watch towers surround the corners of the prison with a 30-foot wall separating them. Automatic turrets with mounted spotlights scan the courtyard of Arkham from the towers. Looking through the walls, Naruto quickly counts 50 guards with only half of them possessing heavy armor and weapons. Several guards patrol the halls of the prison where the prisoners are held in small rooms with bulletproof glass acting as bars and shock-resistance walls to prevent the more physically enhanced criminals from breaking out. Naruto can see an underground passage leading into a complex underneath the prison. The complex is slightly smaller than Arkham's surface prison, but there is more security since only the most powerful and criminally insane individuals are placed in the underground complex. It's in the underground complex where he can sense something strange. One of the many abilities he possesses is to sense emotions from within everyone. However, the emotions he can sense from underneath the prison isn't normal by human standards. To be honest, he has never felt these emotions before. Not in such rapid and random patterns anyway. While he can feel the anger, sadness, grief and boredom from the other prisoners, someone doesn't seem to know what they're feeling. For 1 second, he can feel a burning anger until it changes to the worst sort of sadness before changing into bubbly joy. Well, that's a new one, thought Naruto, unsure but curious over the phenomenon. Without the need of a hand sign, a shadow clone appears into reality beside him without so much as a whisper of smoke. The shadow clone vanishes from sight due to using Jonin-level speed as it heads off to do its job. For a split second, Naruto considers to just go and kill the criminals that are currently resting in Arkham but quickly decides against it. If he wants to change the world for the better, he needs the support of the people. Just showing up and slaughtering the villains won't exactly impress the populace, no matter how evil the villains are. He needs to start it slow while getting the support from the population away from the Justice League and with the Akatsuki. Besides, they'll be dead soon enough. With the layout memorized, Naruto opens a dimension portal beside him and floats in it to find himself in Arkham's laundry room. He drops to the floor and calmly walks to the wall, beside the door. Just as he expected, one of the laundry men walks into the room with a trolley full of dirty prison clothes. There's nothing significant about the worker, as he looks to be in his late 50s with gray starting to cover the brown in his hair. The cleaner tips the trolley to spill the bags of clothes into a pile, not once noticing the extra person who is silently walking up behind him. After filling the trolley with bags of clean clothes, the cleaner turns around and the first thing he sees is a pair of purple ringed eyes with tomos before falling into blissful unconsciousness, due to a small genjutsu. Before the cleaner can hit the floor, Naruto grabs him by the back of his collar and drags him to the corner of the room and places him behind one of the many washing machines. He even piles bags of dirty clothes on the cleaner to keep him out of sight. Satisfied, Naruto explodes in a poof of smoke, and when the smoke disperses, it shows Naruto disguised as the cleaner. With a smile, he takes the clothes and heads out to the halls and walls by the guards who don't even give him a second glance. Naruto calmly walks by the bulletproof glass cells and ignores the cursed and shouts from the prisoners while he pushes through the clean bags of clothes through the slot in the glass door which can only be opened from the outside. All of a sudden, a rush of memories fills his head after his shadow clone pops out of existence. He had sent the shadow clone to find records on the prisoners, and it didn't take him long. It turns out that all the prisoners are ranked according to the amount of stars they have, with 5 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. For each star, the more dangerous the criminals are, and it just so happens that he is walking by one of the 5 stars right now. From the memories of his shadow clone, there are only 2 5-star criminals who aren't locked up in the underground facility, due to them preferring to not cause trouble. Inside the cell, Floyd Lawton, or rather, Deadshot, is currently doing push-ups while standing on his hands. From the record, Deadshot earned his name from being the world's best marksman since he has never missed a shot with a gun. It is said that he has mastered the use of every gun there is, from the smallest pistol to the heaviest rocket launcher. He is also an expert with hand-to-hand combat, as it is said that he has faced off against Batman several times in his career. While he isn't as destructive as the other criminals in Arkham Asylum, he isn't one to be underestimated, as he is also known as the second best mercenary in the world, just before Deathstroke. Having a marksman can be quite handy for the more unique moments. The disguised Jinchuriki stops by the cell while Floyd flips to his feet and walks towards the glass door. "Hey Frank, how's the missus?" asked Floyd while he uses the bottom of his prison shirt to wipe the sweat from his forehead. "You know, same old," replied Naruto with a smile before he opens the slot and passes the bag of clothes into the cell. To his surprise, Floyd suddenly grabs his arm in a tight grab with one hand while his other presses a shiv to his wrist. "Your first mistake was actually speaking to me. If you did your homework, you would know that none of the cleaners would try to look at me in the eye. You would also know that his name isn't Frank. So how about we ignore the chitter-chatter and tell me who hired you?" Floyd presses the shiv deep enough to pierce skin but enough to rest against a vein. Naruto doesn't flinch against the small knife but is inwardly impressed with now he was caught. Impressive. Nobody else didn't even bat an eyelash at my disguise. My eyes are sharper than most people's when in my type of work. You still didn't tell me who hired you, so if you want to leave with most of your blood I'd be telling. Nobody hired me. From the slight pressure into his wrist, it's clear that Floyd doesn't believe him. In fact, you could say I want to hire you. Floyd raises a brow in amusement. Hire me? I don't think you can afford me. I think I can tempt you, but not until you let go of my hand. Don't want any guards to get suspicious and interrupt us? He can think of 6 different ways to easily get back his hand, but all require some form of violence that he can't show off if he wants to recruit him. Floyd makes a thinking expression for a whole minute before he eventually lets go. I'm currently recruiting members for my group. Congratulations, you made the cut, said Naruto with a smirk. Floyd looks at the disguised Jinchuriki like as if he is insane. You're insane! You broke into Arkham just to find recruits? The same place they keep the biggest baddies of us all? The best place to recruit, in my opinion. Floyd gives him a skeptical look. Can't argue with you there, but why should I give a damn on joining some gang? Naruto took offense to that as his eyes sharpen, which surprises Floyd, but he doesn't show it. The Akatsuki are no simple gang. We are a revolution. The Akatsuki will be the ones to finish what the Justice League started. Justice League? So you want to play with the big leagues? Asked Deadshot in humor. Remind me again, what are the Justice League not doing? The execution of all villains. All of a sudden, a cold chill washes through Floyd's bones. It's even starting to get harder to breathe for him, while sweat that wasn't from his exercises is dripping off of him. What the hell is going on? Thought Floyd, feeling his heart rate increase tenfold. That reminds me, I've checked your record. Seems you've done quite a few bad things in your life, Mr. Deadshot. Floyd finds an invisible pressure suddenly bring him down to his knees, but as much as he tries to fight against it, it only seems to get heavier. What do you want? Asked Floyd through his gritted teeth. Naruto glares down at the man who has done a lot more bad than good in his life. I want for the world to change, and you're gonna help me to do it. After successfully convincing Deadshot and teleporting him to their base of dimensions, Naruto walks towards the end of the hall, where the elevator that goes to the underground complex is. Of course, there are 2 heavily armed security guards by the doors. One of the guards sees the disguised Naruto walk over, so he walks forward with his hand out. This area is off limits, warned the guard. Naruto doesn't even glance at the man as he continues to walk towards the door. Did you not hear me? I told you the dash. This time, Naruto does glance at him, but with the Rinna Sharingan. He places a genjutsu which erases their memories of himself, which works like a charm when the guard loses focus of his objective and goes back to his position. Naruto enters the door and into the lift before pressing the down button. After a few minutes of waiting, the elevator door opens. Before leaving, Naruto uses his chakra to reflect the light away from his body, therefore making it look like he is invisible to the naked eye. There, he walks down the hallway, making sure to sidestep the guards who walk by him without noticing. While he walks halfway down the hall, he stops and turns towards a set of double doors. The reason is because behind the doors, he can feel the strange mess of emotions from before. However, being so close to the source, Naruto can feel a headache coming along. He walks forward and opens the doors to find the source of the emotional chaos. He walks on a scaffold and looks around the large room. He notices the cameras that are all angled in every direction but pays little heed to them. Unlike the other rooms, this one has no guards, but he can sense several live signatures in a room next door. In the center of the room is a literal cage, but but it's what is inside the cage that has his curious attention. Even after years of sleep and lack of human contact, Naruto still knows beauty when he sees it. Although, his interest for the pink-haired woman in the past may have been his only fault on the mister. She wasn't bad to look at, but in the inside, she was just plain ugly. He can't remember much about his experience with the woman, but most of them are filled with bad memories and her physically hitting him. The woman inside the cage has the pink-haired one beat in beauty by miles. She has smooth, pale skin with no hints of blemishes, long silky blonde hair that reaches just above her round rear, and she has a figure that could be compared to a model's. To the eye, she looks beautiful and could capture a man's interest with a simple glance. Naruto knows better. Looks can very well be deceiving. The woman has tied a blanket to a high cage bar from one side to the other. She's using it to swing and flip in her cell, showing off graceful that one would find from a professional acrobat. Naruto walks silently towards the steps to the bottom floor while keeping his eyes on the woman. Even as he watches her flip around her stretched blanket with a serene expression which would make it seem like she's calm and enjoying herself, the emotions that's radiating off of her is telling him a different story. Even without the Rinne, his sharp eyes can see a strange aura surrounding her. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that from how the aura is rapidly changing colors, it indicates her emotional distress. This impresses Naruto, seeing as not a lot of people show the capabilities to express their emotions in a spiritual manner. In fact, he notes how she's doing it in a way that a ninja would express killing intent. Naruto stops mid-step when the woman stops her twirls and balances herself in the air by gripping onto the blanket. She swings off the blanket and walks over to the bars while looking around the room with a curious expression. Naruto immediately senses something very off. All the emotions that the woman was radiating off has suddenly vanished, and now, she simply has nothing. He tries to sense something, but all he senses is a hollow, cold feeling. That isn't good. The woman looks around the room, seemingly looking for something. What is she looking at? Who are you? While he isn't one to get jumped easily, he did have to stop himself from fidgeting as the woman looks straight at him, something in which should be impossible since he is invisible to the naked eye. His footsteps are silent as wheel, yet she can seemingly see him. Harley Quinn is an odd woman. Canceling his invisibility jutsu, he makes his way down the walkway while keeping his eyes solely on Harley, who doesn't break eye contact with him once. He walks down the steps and heads towards her cell while inwardly finding the woman fascinating. To the eye, she looks like a calm young woman with a playful glint in her eye. Inwardly, she is a wreck as her emotions are going haywire. Naruto stops in front of the cell, close enough to touch the cell bars if he wants. The pair just stare into each other's eyes, seemingly waiting for one of them to break the tension. Harley did the honors. Are you a god? Not a question I would have expected, he thought. Remembering the memories from the clone, he considers if he should stay or just leave her. Apparently, she is a highly skilled hand-to-hand specialist who uses her flexibility and her unpredictability to get the upper hand on most opponents. What he is worried about is that it read on her file that she is insanely devoted to the Joker, and he doesn't just mean that figuratively. While she could become a useful and capable member of the Akatsuki, he can't exactly have the chance of her striking out at the group when she finds out who ended the Joker. Not something he wants, as she is said to be even more insane than the Joker himself. Being this close to her, Naruto can attest to that. No, he answered with a calm shake of the head. Nobody can become a god. Security room. An overweight guard is sitting in his chair with his legs up and eating away on a burger while skimming through the several monitors that makes up the security system for the underground section of the prison. So far, he hasn't seen anything strange, and even if he did, he would have already been paid to ignore it. That's why that when he saw someone standing in front of the cell of Harley Quinn and having no recollection of getting a bribe, he immediately stands up and presses his face closer to the monitor to make sure he isn't just seeing things. He reaches out for the alarm that would signal the security guards beside the room, but another hand grabs his arm in a tight grip. Following the arm, the guards widens his eyes when he sees the exact same guy who is supposedly standing in Harley's cell room. The guard opens his mouth to scream for help, but Naruto's eyes shift to that of his Rinne and casts 2 genjutsu on him. The first genjutsu is to wipe out the recent memories of the guard, while the second is to knock him into unconsciousness. Naruto's shadow clone palaces the guard back into his chair and places his head on his folded arms on the desk to give off the impression that he's sleeping. Standing up to full height, he looks around the room that is full of panels and memory banks and walks over to one of them. He places one finger on the panel and releases a pulse of electricity into it. The electricity short-circuits all of the connected equipment, destroying all the footage that shows his real self with Harley. With that done, he opens another rift in the dimension and walks through it. "People say that Superman is a god," replied Harley with the innocence of a child. "He's nothing but a false god. A man with overwhelming power that people consider when depicting him as some sort of god," he answered, ignoring the memories of his shadow clone. Being safe than sorry, he has looked up much information about the Justice League, and surprisingly, Superman's information was a lot easier to get than anyone else's. It seems that everyone knows about the Man of Steel's weakness to kryptonite, something that Naruto will take full advantage of when the time calls for it. Harley tilts her head like a cute puppy until the innocent expression is gone when an insane smile erupts across Harley's face. Naruto can sense her emotions bubbling up and becoming more happy. "You're a bit of a weirdo, ain't ya? I could probably say the same thing to you," remarked Naruto with a shrug of his shoulders. Harley leans back while still holding onto the steel bars and laughs like as if he just told her the funniest joke in the world. "You're a funny guy," she said, pushing herself up and licks a bar in an erotic way. "I like funny guys," she purred with a flirty smirk. Surprisingly, a chill goes up Naruto's spine, but it's mostly because of what she just said about liking funny guys, and her former fling was with the Joker of all people, someone who doesn't seem like a guy with a good sense of humor. "Is that why you hung around with the Joker?" he asked, wanting to know about her current opinion of the deceased criminal. What he doesn't expect is for her emotions to concentrate solely on one: anger. "Mr. J can go to hell for all I care," she yelled, turning her head with a huff, similar to that of a child who hasn't gotten their way. "He knows I can't swim, but he drove us into the river anyway. It isn't like he's nice to me anyway, so why should I care if he doesn't?" she ranted with a scowl. "Looks like I might be getting a new recruit after all," thought Naruto as he watches Harley rant about the treatment of the deceased clown prince. "For what I can offer, I'm sorry for what had to have been out through. If it's any condolence, the Joker is dead." He instantly senses Harley's bad mood suddenly shift to joy with a second of those words leaving his mouth. "Really? Really? Really? Really?" she chanted, jumping up and down in her cell like a child pumped up with sugar. "Is Mr. J really dead?" she asked with a lot of hope in her voice. "I have his body to prove it. Can I see it?" she all but demanded. "Maybe, but there's something that I wa dash. Anything. Just let me see the bastard rotting corpse," Harley pleaded while placing her hands together in a begging manner. Naruto shakes his head with a small smirk. "Very well." Using his magnet release, the bars for the cell bends apart, leaving a nicely sized gap for Harley. Naruto offers his hand for her to take. "Shall we?" "We shall," laughed Harley as she grasps his hand tightly. With that both silver out of existence, Harley's insane laughs bouncing off the walls as the pair exit the dimension. "No fucking way. I didn't ask for your opinion. I don't give a flying fuck if you asked for my opinion or not. I am not working with a psychopath, especially if that psychopath is the girlfriend of the Joker," argued Red Hood as he points over the giggling Harley, who isn't paying him any heed and is instead prodding the Joker's corpse with her foot. "You'll be stationed in separate cities anyway, so I highly doubt that you two will see each other often," said Naruto with a shrug of his shoulders as he forgoes talking to Red Hood to the face so he can instead watch the river flow by in the cave of his private dimension. Deadshot is leaning against a nearby tree with his eyes closed and arms folded, looking like the pinnacle of calm. Inwardly, he is feeling nervous, which isn't a feeling he is used to. Nobody can blame him, since not just 20 minutes ago, he was locked up in Arkham with no hope to see his daughter without fighting his way out. Now, he finds himself free but threatened into a group by someone he hasn't even heard of before. There's also the fact that the same guy who took him out of prison is the same person who killed the Joker of all people. Someone who he wouldn't even try to kill, not without 9 digits in his bank account. "When I get my guns, I'll make a runner," he thought to himself, planning to escape from wherever he is and return back to Gotham when the time is right. His eyes scans the small group around him, feeling certain that he can handle them all if surprised. "If you try, I'll kill you." Deadshot opens his eyes, feeling startled to the familiar voice in his head that he doesn't recognize as his own. His eyes shift over to the owner of said voice, who hasn't moved from his spot for the last 5 minutes. His eyes widens when the sage's eyes shift from the river to meet his own for a brief second, although it's enough for him to know that what he heard wasn't just his imagination. A portal opens up from afar as another Naruto walks through it with 2 boxes floating behind him. "Good, your equipment is here," said Naruto, getting up and walking towards his clone, who poofs away into smoke and drops the crates. "Now, that was cool," complimented Red Hood, pointing to where the shadow clone poofed away. "Yay! My stuff!" cheered Harley as she makes a beeline for the wooden box that has her name on it. Deadshot eyes the crate with his own name on it, walks over to it, and opens it up. He smirks when he sees his large arsenal of weaponry in the box, all nearly placed together with the few boxes of ammo he was carrying during the time of his arrest. Eyeing the only item that doesn't shoot bullets and explosives, he reaches for it and takes out a mask. The iconic mask that everyone recognizes as his own. He slips it on and sighs in satisfaction to the familiar feel of his mask's material, and the view of his targeting device on the right eye of his mask. He reaches back into his crate and starts setting up his weapons for use again, starting with his wrist-mounted machine gun gauntlets. Harley swings her ass around as she has thrown her torso into her crate to fish out her own gear. She pulls herself out with her iconic red and black jester outfit in her hands. "I think I've outgrown this," said Harley with a giggle before throwing the costume over her shoulder. She jumps back in and squeals happily before she pulls out her hammer. "I found Hammy!" she cheered while placing the hammer over her shoulder. Naruto narrows his eyes towards the hammer. His sensitive hearing can detect a ticking sound that is starting to aggravate him. Activating his Rinna Sharingan for a brief second, his guess is proven correct when he sees a very dangerous item in the head of Harley's hammer. He stands up and walks in front of Harley, who looks up at him with a tilt of her head. "Could I see that hammer of yours for a second?" Harley pouts as she looks at her hammer and back at Naruto. "But I just got Hammy." She pouted but gave him the weapon anyway. Naruto nods gratefully before eyeing the head of the hammer. Everyone is looking at their boss curiously while wondering what's going on with him. Naruto takes one side of the hammer's head and, to Harley's horror, rips it off. "Hammy! I'll make you a better one. I don't think you will want this one now," said Naruto as he pulls out the contents of the hammer. Everyone widens their eyes when they see a bomb in Naruto's hand. "I'm guessing this was a gift from the Joker?" But stuttered Harley, her insane mind not able to comprehend that in her favorite weapon, which she got for her birthday from Puddin', was a bomb. The same weapon she was using to hit against bodies and skulls actually had a bomb which could have gone off at any time, killing her in the process. Growling, she snarls and runs over to the Joker's corpse before using all of her strength to beat up the Joker's corpse. "I think I'll keep this," thought Naruto as the bomb pops away into smoke. Ignoring Harley releasing her stress on the Joker's body, he sits back into his spot. "I knew the Joker was bats hit crazy, but that's just too much," said Red Hood with a shake of his head. 10 minutes later, a panting Harley walks away from the bruised and broken body of the Joker and sits beside Naruto with a high pitch. "Humph." Naruto eyes her for a second before looking back at the river. "You have a bad taste on boyfriends. Tell me about it," muttered Harley with a scowl. Red Hood and Deadshot jump up when violet flames appear beside the Joker's body before the King of Hell's head pops up and swallows up the battered body before vanishing again. Unsurprisingly, either Naruto or Harley twitch as one is the one responsible for summoning the demon and the other is insane. "What the fuck was that?" grunted Deadshot as he aims his carbine at the empty space where the King of Hell once resided. "Hell if I know. Sage summoned it earlier and it spat out the Joker's body," replied Red Hood, his pistol aiming towards the same spot before he sighs and places it back into his holster. "If you two are done, we need to collect the rest of our group," said Naruto, amused over the scene. Harley giggles beside him, finding the sight of the vigilante and mercenary jumping up in surprise funny as well. "And pray tell, who are the lucky ones to join our almighty group?" asked Deadshot with a roll of his eyes. Naruto ignores him but pulls a picture out of his right sleeve and throws it over to Red Hood like a shuriken. Red Hood catches it easily and looks at the picture, narrowing his eyes. "These guys look familiar," he muttered, trying to remember where he recognizes the three. "They should. Your predecessor meets them quite often in the city he watches over." Red Hood furrows his brow in thought. "That's right, but I can't remember their names." "Jinx, Mammoth, and Gizmo," answered Naruto. "They aren't too experienced, but with the right training, they could be quite a formidable group." That is when Deadshot draws the line. "Hell no! I'm not working with any more amateurs. This guy is bad enough as it is, we don't need any more people who'll just hold me back." exclaimed Deadshot while pointing over at the former boy wonder who glares at the merc. If you want, I can show you how much of an amateur I truly am, growled Red Hood with his hand reaching out for one of his pistols. Kid, you're 20 years too young to even think about taking me on, threatened Deadshot as he pulls out a sawed-off shotgun and aims it at Red Hood, who responds by aiming a pistol at the merc. Yay, bloodbath! Cheered Harley while jumping up and down and cheering. Before anyone can pull a trigger, a cold chill fills the air and a heavy presence falls on all of them. Everyone, even Harley, quiets down as something invisible starts to tighten around their throats, yet they can't see what it is. Deadshot and Red Hood collapse to their knees, hands to their throats to somehow ease the slow and agonizing sensation. Harley gasps with a wide grin on her face, although the sweat pouring down her brow shows that she is finding the feeling as cold and painful as the other two. I chose you three because I thought that I was getting a team of killers who can do some right for the world. Instead, it seems like I just got a group of squabbling children who can't play together. Naruto's blue eyes glares at the trio before he pulls back his ki from suffocating them. Such a simple trick wouldn't have affected a Chunin, but it seems to work a lot on the simple people. What the hell is this guy? Wondered Deadshot as he breathes in the wonderful fresh air. Now, since we've wasted enough time as it is, let's find some new members, shall we? He asked calmly. The others, except for a grinning Harley, finds his stoic expression and calm facade disturbing. While it makes up Batman's character, he always has his mask and costume on to make his stoic expression terrifying. The sage, on the other hand, is giving them chills just by his expression alone. Sure, said Red Hood, inwardly cursing himself for stuttering, even for a tiny bit. But first, you should all get used the logo of the Akatsuki since we'll be partners for a while. Naruto walks over to Deadshot first, and before the merc can stop him, Naruto's palm touches the right side of his armor's chest. Smoke wafts through his fingers before he pulls his hand back to reveal the red and black cloud symbol of Akatsuki. Fucking perfect. Ignoring the grumbling merc, Naruto heads over to Red Hood, who shrugs his shoulders and turns around. He points his thumbs to his back and Naruto nods before placing the symbol to the back of his jacket. Do me! Do me! Chanted Harley while running in front of Naruto with a happy smile on her face. Naruto reaches his hand, only for Harley to grab it and pull it into her left breast. She moans as the symbol etches into the black and red fabric of her tube top. Naruto raises a brow but doesn't say anything as he pulls back his hand. Harley winks before cartwheeling away. With a shake of his head, he looks over to the merc and vigilante. You and Deadshot will head to Jump City, find the targets and give them their invites. And if they say no, Deadshot pulls back the chamber of his pistol. Then just return. Just because they reject my invite doesn't mean that I'll kill them. Naruto walks in front of Deadshot and opens his hand to show 3 rings. Wear these rings at all times. It allows us to communicate with one another, and if needed, press the top of it and it'll teleport you back here. For those situations you can't handle. Deadshot takes a ring and eyes it curiously, or more likely the kanji written on it. Shrugging, he places the ring on his left middle finger. Red Hood took his and placed it on his right ring finger, while Harley put hers on her left index finger with a smile. How are we getting to Jump City? Asked Red Hood. Naruto doesn't answer, but a dimensional portal does open up beside Red Hood, who looks through it and sees the city, as well as Titan Tower in the background. Happy trails, said Naruto. There's nothing too happy about, grumbled Deadshot as he reluctantly walks through the portal with Red Hood. It closes behind them once they are fully through. Now then, dash. He's interrupted by a jumping Harley Quinn. Can we go and get my babies? Pretty please, she begged with a tear in her eye. Naruto raises a brow since he doesn't remember anything about her having children in her file. Of course, but I didn't know you had children. Harley pouts up at the silverette. They aren't my children, they're my babies. Naruto can't help but feel that he should have left the insane woman back at Arkham. Jump City Hive 5 HQ. Sitting on the large couch in the sitting room of the Hive 5's headquarters are Gizmo and Mammoth, 2 individuals who couldn't be any more different if they tried. What an absolute shitstorm! Cursed Gizmo, his tiny legs hanging off the couch while he has his face in his hands. Mammoth sighs while leaning his large arms against his knees. What do we do now? How the fuck should I know? Yelled Gizmo, jumping to his feet on the couch. He grits his teeth as he looks around their empty base. After that whole mess with the Brotherhood of Evil and Teen Titans, everything has gotten from bad to worse. It all started when the remnants of the Teen Titans attacked them before they could finish off Robin. They then started to release the rest of the Teen Titans from the ice containment, and it didn't take long for Gizmo, and even Mammoth, to figure out that the Brotherhood of Evil was losing the fight. Themselves, including Seymour, Kid WYKYD and Billy Numerous, attempted to escape through the battle early on but was stopped by none other than their former comrade and leader, Jinx, who they've heard has joined up with the Teen Titans. They just barely escaped from being captured, but the betrayal of Jinx did not go well with them. Billy, Kid and Seymour left yesterday to go on their own, not like Gizmo can blame them. We can't stay here. Jinx knows all of our hideouts. It won't be long till the Titans start raiding them, sighed Gizmo, sadly. He can feel that Jinx's betrayal is hurting him more than he would have liked. They've been friends for years, yet it meant little to her. Seems like we came in the nick of time. Both Mammoth and Gizmo jump away from the couch and turn to face the owner of the voice. Only, the two criminals find their voices caught in their throats when they see who is standing not just a few feet away from them in their base. Deadshot leans against the doorway, looking over at the teens in boredom, while Red Hood is standing closer with his arms folded, seemingly eyeing the pair for any uses. Holy shit, muttered Gizmo, sweat pouring down his tiny body as he tries his best to not twitch in front of the two biggest names in Gotham City. Even Mammoth is at a loss of words. While he may be physically stronger than the two, that doesn't mean that he stands a single chance against one of them. I think we broke them, chuckled Red Hood. Whatever. Let's just get this done and over with. Red Hood walks over to the pair who have yet to move, their fight and flight system having broken due to their fear taking over. He looks down at the tiny Gizmo and up at the large Mammoth, his eyes making an eye smile. We've got a bit of a proposition for you too. The doors of the Hive 5's base explodes as Cyborg, Beast Boy, Jinx, Speedy and Kid Flash enter the room. Cyborg and Speedy aim their respective weapons around in case of a surprise attack. Beast Boy jumps onto the couch and snarls in his lion form, while Jinx and Kid Flash walk into the room last. Good to be back, smiled Kid Flash, thinking back to the time when he invited himself in. Doing a quick stretch, he blurs around the entire base to look for the rest of the High Five, but he returns to the rest of the group with his arms shrugging. I can't find them anywhere. Jinx looks at her boyfriend, a bit skeptic. They have to be here. There isn't anywhere else they could be. Cyborg walks over to the large computer and starts searching for any useful information that might have on the missing members of the Hive 5. However, he frowns when the screen darkens with a small Gizmo pixel laughing at them before the screen turns off and the controls sparks. Great, the pipsqueak rigged the computer with a fail-safe. Everything they have is fried. Beast Boy converts back into his normal form and points his thumb to the door. Come on, let's head back home. I'm sure they'll pop up sooner than later anyway. I guess, muttered Jinx with a frown. She tries to think back to any other base her former teammates might be at, but can't recall any that haven't been raided by the other Titans yet. With nothing to go on, she leaves the base which has been her home for the last 2 years. Naruto's dimension. Gizmo. Yes, Mammoth? I think we're way out of our league here. I know. Gizmo and Mammoth are standing side by side with each other, trying to make themselves as small as possible. One of the reasons being that they have found themselves in some sort of underground cave with a lot of strange plants, some of them even looking at themselves hungrily. The main reason for their discomfort is because they are with 3 of the biggest names and killers in Gotham City, if not the whole country. Red Hood is leaning against a nearby tree with his arms folded and his finger tapping his arm in impatience. Clearly, he is annoyed by something and is on the verge of making it known. Deadshot is taking apart and fixing up a few of his rifles on a boulder. Harley is laughing away as her babies lick her face in joy. Said babies being her pet hyenas who are very happy to be with their owner again. It's nice of you two to come. To be honest, I didn't think you would agree, said Naruto from behind the pair of rookie criminals, who jumps in fright since they never heard him come from behind. Who are you? Asked Mammoth with a bit of a stutter. Naruto smiles slightly up at the large man. I'm the leader of this fine group. You can call me Sage. This guy is the leader, thought Gizmo, frantically. If he is someone who can somehow control Deadshot and Harley Quinn, he knows that he isn't someone to mess around with. We didn't really have much of a choice. Titans were gonna catch us sooner or later anyway. With us being in a different dimension of all places, I don't think they'll be finding us anytime soon. Even now, Gizmo is having a hard time believing that he is somehow in a separate dimension. And from what he could get out of Red Hood, the dimension is owned and created by the leader of the Akatsuki group. Naruto nods. Yes, I've heard of what happened between the Brotherhood of Evil and the Teen Titans. A shame about Jinx though. Betrayal isn't something anyone should suffer through. Naruto frowns as his head stings as a certain memory flashes before his eyes. Deadshot and Harley eyed the sage for a few seconds before returning back to what they were doing. Any questions while I'm here? Mammoth coughed to clear up his throat. This Akatsuki group, what is it? Akatsuki is a group who will end what the heroes have started. Mammoth and Gizmo blink, unsure what he means by that. In other words, we are to kill every major villain and more, ending the circle of hatred in which the Justice League refuses to cut themselves. It takes a second for Gizmo's smart mind to compute what he just told them. Holy shit! Are you for fucking real? Shouted Gizmo, forgetting on who's in the dimension with him. We don't give a fuck about what the Justice League does but to kill? Sorry to tell you, Bug, but I'm not into that. Mammoth looks over his shoulder and stiffens when he sees that the other three are staring at them. Giz. You're fucking mental. What, we're gonna start killing off the Joker? Bane? Don't make me fucking laugh. Going against them is a suicide mission. Naruto doesn't blink as Gizmo continues to rant, ignoring Mammoth's pleas for him to shut up. Is the little baby afraid to play with the big boys? Gizmo stiffens when he feels a thin finger brush against his cheek as the voice coos in his ear. The problem is that the owner of said hand is Harley Quinn, who is grinning quite happily. Harley pouts when she hears the serious stoic tone from her new boss. Fine, she moaned in disappointment. She smirks as she crouches down to Gizmo's height and whispers in his ear. By the way, Sage already killed Mr. J, so I would watch my mouth if I were you. Ignoring the light glare from the sage, she giggles and flips away to pet her babies. Naruto looks back down at Gizmo, who looks to have returned back into his confident, loud self, although the hint of sweat shows that he now understands who is in the room with him and is probably contemplating on what Harley just told him. While I cannot change your priorities or beliefs, I will admit that I need you for your technical genius. You will not be required to personally kill anyone. Just supply Akatsuki with gear and technological aid. Gizmo frowns and thinks it over for a minute before he nods his head in agreement. What about me? Asked Mammoth, timidly raising this hand up. Naruto turns to the giant and his lips twitch upwards. While the Akatsuki have plenty of skilled individuals, there is always a need for muscle. Seeing as you have the strength of 12 men, with the right training, I'm sure that you can be a monster to be reckoned with. Mammoth taps his chin with his large finger, admittingly liking the sound of that. However, Gizmo isn't yet done. What about funds? I can't do shit without the needed equipment. Naruto closes his eyes and hums to himself before opening them, revealing his Rinne Sharingan. Suddenly, everyone finds their footing gone as the dimension shifts around them. Everyone but Harley shouts and screams in surprise while the insane woman laughs as they land on something hard. Red Hood groans as he sits up and rubs his back to ease the pain. Feeling something strange, he picks up his hand from the floor and looks at it. He widens his eyes behind his mask when he sees that the contents of his hands are actual gold coins. Looking around, he finds it suddenly hard to breathe when he takes in the sight of mountains of gold. Holy fucking shit! Yelled Gizmo, eyes widening in size while also drooling over the sparkling goodness which is gold. Is this all real? Asked Deadshot in disbelief as he eyes a gold coin between his fingertips. Yes, it's all real. Looking up, Deadshot sees the sage slowly glide down to his side and wonders how he's doing that. Think of all this as encouragement. Everyone major criminal you kill, a nice sum of gold coins find themselves in your pocket. Told Naruto, knowing that while his threat of killing him may be encouraging enough, there's nothing more encouraging than a man's greed. He is very thankful for the creation of all things jutsu as it gave him something to do for the past 10 years when he wasn't watching the world. Deadshot stares at the sage in disbelief before he gazes across the wide field of good coins. Unlike the other dimension, it isn't in some sort of underground cave as the sky is clear of clouds. The floor is literally just piles of gold coins while a few mountains and hills which are made of the valuable substance can be seen across the horizon. This could help give Zoe a proper future, thought the gunslinger as he thinks about the future of his daughter. A future where she doesn't have to suffer through poverty, or die like so many others. Unknown to him, Naruto has been listening in on his thoughts. Seems like the merc has a heart after all. Naruto looks over and sees Harley sliding down a hill of coins while her hyenas looks around in confusion. Mammoth is oddly enough making angels in a pile of gold while Gizmo is happily kicking and throwing the coins in the air. So, will this be enough? Enough! I could very well kiss you! Yelled Gizmo, jumping up and down like a child pumped with sugar. With his small stature and bald head, it further gives off the image. Naruto smirks slightly before releasing his Rinna Sharingan and returning them back to his dimension. Ah, I liked all the money, moaned Harley in disappointment from her spot on the grassy floor. Kill enough bad people and you'll be getting a lot of it, told Naruto, patting the sitting woman on the head. Said woman smiles and pumps her fist up in the air. Aye, sir. I make sure bad people go bye. Deadshot returns to his seat on the boulder and looks over at the sage. So when are we gonna start? Some can almost hear the anticipation in the man's voice. Naruto shakes his head. Not just yet. There are 2 more places needed to be filled. I have an interest on one possible member who I'll be looking into personally. Harley. Harley perks up when she hears her name. There's someone in Gotham I want you to send an invite to. Someone who I think you might know. Really? Let me guess, Batman. Poison Ivy. Watchtower. Currently, there's a meeting going on between the main heads of the Justice League. The topic being the disappearance of the Joker. There's still nothing about the Joker? Asked Superman to Batman, who is attending the meeting through the large monitor while he's still in Gotham. Nothing. It's like he vanished in thin air, said Batman with a frown. Even now, he is trying to figure out what is going on in the head of the clown prince of crime. Not wanting to be a downer, but isn't that a good thing? Asked the Flash with his hand raised. Green Lantern nods his head in agreement as he doesn't find a problem with the Joker's disappearance. It just means that there are less people who he'll kill. Usually, it would be a blessing, but the blood sample found on the crime scene has me worried, told the Martian Manhunter as he leans his chin on his entwined fingers. And the blood sample has what in common with the Joker? Asked the Flash with a raised eyebrow. Batman narrows his eyes on the monitor. It's the Joker's blood. Wait, you're not telling me that someone might have offed the Joker? Flash can't take that to face value, not since there is nobody stupid or insane enough to possibly kill the Joker. Even thinking about it would get them a face full of his laughing gas. Not a very pleasant way to die. It's a possibility, said Wonder Woman, frowning. We still have no leads on the Joker, nor the symbol of a red cloud. A new villain, perhaps? Asked John. Or a possible new organization? We cannot ignore any possible outcomes, not until we find the Joker, said Batman. I've already contacted the rest of the League and even the Titans to keep an eye out for the symbol and any word on the Joker. They've been advised to contact us before they attempt anything if they get any word on them. What about the X-Men? They could provide some eyes and ears for us, asked Barry before he shrinks from the withering glare that Batman is sending him from the monitor. Even if he's thousands of miles away from him, Batman can still give them quite a scare wherever he is. I refuse to ask for them for any help. Can you please not do this now? Muttered Hal Jordan as he rubs the bridge of his nose, feeling a headache coming. Everyone knows of Batman's dislike for the group of mutants because they didn't accept the invite to join the Justice League as they preferred to be independent. Most of the League has no problem with the rejection, although Batman has a strong theory that if they aren't with them, then they are against the Justice League. Superman and Wonder Woman have tried several times to get the Dark Knight to let it go, but he refuses. Look, we'll search for any news on the Joker and the symbol. If nothing comes up for a while, we'll ask for the X-Men's help. How's that? Asked Clark, hoping for his friend to agree. Batman frowns on the monitor and with a grunt, his image disappears. That's a yes if I've ever seen one, joked Barry, getting up from his seat and stretches. If you all don't mind, I've gotta run. The Flash disappears in red blur as he heads to the teleporter so he can be back in time for a quick scope of the city before going on his date. We should probably go too. Our reservation only lasts for another hour, said Wonder Woman to Superman, who smiles and nods his head. Both stand and head to their rooms so they can get dressed in their civilian disguises before they can go on their date in Metropolis. Gotham City. In an abandoned factory on the outskirts of Gotham, Poison Ivy cooing over a few plants that lean into her touch. She smiles as her babies coo to her affection. Red! Harley? Muttered Poison Ivy, surprised to see her friend out and free. Last she heard, she was arrested and put in Arkham after another incident with the Joker. Harley runs past the trees and plants surrounding the abandoned factory and hugs Poison Ivy, happily. Ivy groans in pain from how tight Harley is hugging her. Harley, I can feel my ribs cracking, she groaned. The insane woman blinks before letting go of her, and hits the side of her head while sticking out her tongue. Sorry. Poison Ivy sighs, although not feeling any annoyance to her friend. At first, it was annoying, but over time, she found amusement in Harley's antics. She just can't see why she always sticks around with the Joker, no matter what he does. She knows that the Clown Prince abuses her and treats Harley like shit, yet she keeps running to his side. She can at least be impressed with Harley's loyalty. Not that I hate seeing you, but how did you get out of Arkham? I got busted out. Busted out? By who? Joker? Now, whatever response Ivy expected from her friend, it wasn't her snarling and cursing the Joker's name with enough venom to make Batman wince. That piece of crap wouldn't even think twice of breaking me out. He can rot in hell for all I care. Harley's scowl shifts from that of confusion before realization. That reminds me. I'm here to give you an invitation. Ivy looks at her friend, feeling unsure if it's really her. The Harley she remembers wouldn't dare say anything bad to her puddin'. An invitation? From whom? Why, the guy who broke me out, of course. Laughed Harley, thinking that it was somehow the funniest joke in the world. Ivy narrows her eyes. And this guy, did he blackmail or threaten you into being a part of his group? If that's true, she's going to need to have him meet her children. A vine slithers around her shoulder like a snake. Ivy rubs it, and the vine rubs her cheek affectionately. Nope. I joined him from my own free will. Isn't that exciting? Poison Ivy frowns in thought. But why would you join up with his group in the first place? Because he killed Puddin'. New York City. Stay away! Screamed a thug, wearing a wife beater and a red bandana. He runs down an alleyway, hoping to get away from what is chasing him. Unfortunately, his life is forfeit once he became the prey of a certain demon. You spilled the blood of innocents. Now I spill yours. The thug runs around a corner and freezes in horror when he sees a dead end. He looks around for some sort of exit, but the windows are top high for him to climb and there's no doors. End of the line. The thug turns around and steps back until his back hits a wall. Sweat pours down his brow as his body shakes uncontrollably as the demon takes a few steps forward. Stay back, why you monster? Said monster is a skeleton wearing leather pants and a leather jacket. Surrounding the bones of the skeleton are ethereal flames which are somehow not burning away its clothing. Wrapped around its torso is a chain that is covered with the same flames that are enveloping the skeleton. To everyone who may catch a glance of it, they would title it as a demon. To the few who knows of it, they call it the Ghost Rider. Your hands reek of the blood of the innocent, snarled Ghost Rider as he stomps over to the panicking thug. The thug reaches to the back of his pants and brandishes a simple pistol and quickly empties its contents at the Ghost Rider. Die! 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 He screamed, pulling the trigger over and over, even when it clicks when empty. Ghost Rider stares down at his chest where the bullet hit their mark. The 8 bullets are currently melting away from its intense heat, clearly having no effect on it. Looking back to its prey, it cracks its neck before stomping in front of the thug and grabs him by his wife beater. It lifts the crying thug up in the air and snarls. Look into my eyes! For some reason, the thug couldn't resist himself and stare into the hollow sockets of the rider's skull. However, he immediately regrets it as he starts to see the memories of all the people he killed. Unfortunately, is also feeling all the pain and suffering he did to those who he wronged. Ghost Rider drops the thug whose lifeless eyes have smoke and fire escaping them, effects of the rider's penance stare. Turning around, it walks down the alley to return to its bike but stops and looks towards a shadowed corner. I can feel your presence. A few moments later, a stoic Naruto walks out of the shadows. Inwardly, he is finding himself impressed with power of the individual in front of him, and the fact that it can sense himself. He can tell that if they were to fight, the city wouldn't last too long under their conflict. You! Ghost Rider points a flaming bony finger at Naruto. Innocent. Naruto raises a brow before disappearing from view to only appear in front of the Ghost Rider who glares at him, seemingly not impressed that someone is in its way. Get out of my way. Why would I do that when you haven't even heard about my proposition for you? Asked Naruto with a small smirk. Not interested, said Ghost Rider, pushing past Naruto who doesn't try to stop him. It places 2 bony fingers to his mouth and blows out a high-pitched whistle. The sound of an engine revving echoes throughout the alleyway. At the bend of the alleyway, the shadows scurry away as a flaming motorbike drives around on its own and stops beside the rider who hops onto it, and revs the engine before doing a donut to face the bike to the exit. Before the Ghost Rider leaves, Naruto's voice speaks up from over the sounds of the flaming engine. Not even if it involves the saving of innocent lives and the death of the corrupt and evil? If it wasn't for the fact that the rider is a flaming skeleton, the speed that it turns its neck might have given it whiplash. Naruto stares unflinchingly as the rider stares into his own eyes, seemingly looking for any deception or lies. I'm listening. Naruto's dimension. Amazing, gasped Poison Ivy as she takes in the surroundings of the dimension, or rather, the many strange plants that are calling out to her. I know, right? Giggled Harley. Sage says he made this place all by himself. If that's true, I wouldn't mind having a conversarian with this sage, told Ivy, rubbing a strange purple flower which has a large set of sharp teeth. The flower ends to Ivy's touch, making the woman smiles happily and giggles a bit when more of the plants start to gather around her to get some affection as well. Where the hell is the sage anyway? Shouldn't he be back by now? Asked Red Hood to Deadshot, who is loading all of his guns. Deadshot lifts a brow from under his mask. What? Feeling a bit outclassed, are we? He teased, enjoying the glare from the former boy wonder. Well, when I'm trapped in a cave full of carnivorous plants and a woman who can control them with no exits, I feel sort of naked. Deadshot hums but doesn't reply, preferring to get back to his guns. Luckily for Red Hood, a dimensional portal opens not too far away, which signifies that the sage has returned. Only, nobody expects a flaming skeleton in leather to drive through the portal, leaving a trail of flames. Immediately, Red Hood pulls out his twin pistols and aims them at the flaming skeleton, while Deadshot does the same with his sniper rifle. Not too far away, Harley twirls her new hammer and grins while Ivy starts ordering the plants to prepare an attack. Gizmo is already in the air by using his jetpack and has a missile poking out of the side of it. Mammoth tenses, preparing to charge at the skeleton. Ghost Rider lifts himself off of his vehicle and looks around the cave and its inhabitants. Giving them a look, he chuckles in amusement when he sees their weapons all pointing at him. Gizmo blinks when he notices a certain mark on the collar of the rider's leather jacket. Wait a minute, isn't that the mark for the Akatsuki? He pointed out towards said mark. Naruto walks through the portal with his usual stoic expression. That is correct. Ghost Rider has agreed to work alongside us and to spread our influence while we're training. Training? Nobody said anything about training, exclaimed Red Hood. We can't waste any more time. Besides, we don't need training. Naruto looks at Red Hood, his facial expression not once changing. Yet I can kill all of you here with a single finger. Deadshot aims his AK-47 at the sage. Want to test that theory? To everyone's but the rider's surprise, Naruto vanishes from sight, only to reappear beside Deadshot on the boulder. Another surprise comes in the form of Naruto shoving a finger into the barrel of Deadshot's gun. The merc involuntarily pulls the trigger, but instead of a bullet splitting Naruto's finger, the bullet smashes through the back of the weapon, just barely missing the merc's shoulder. Deadshot stares down at his broken gun with a very shocked expression, while Naruto looks down at him with a light glare. Have I passed your test? Deadshot stares up at the sage, happy that he has his mask on to hide his facial expression. With flying colors, he muttered, unsure on what else to say. The fact being, the sage just did a Superman on him, so he isn't sure how to respond to that. Naruto nods his head before noticing the extra in the room. Poison Ivy, isn't it? Poison Ivy doesn't respond, too confused and shocked to release a sound. Not because she just witnessed someone move almost as fast as the Flash or by stopping a bullet with a single finger. No, the reason for being speechless is because she can hear all the plants call out for the sage in need. Just the way the children call out for the man, like as if he is a god, is something she has never seen before, not even with herself. None of her children shows as much want and love for her like these plants do for him. A scary and sad thought. Red? You alright? Harley asked her friend, tilting her body to the wide to look at Ivy's face from below. Huh? Oh yeah? I'm fine, muttered Poison Ivy, shaking herself from her thoughts. Harley, did you explain to Ivy about the goals of the Akatsuki? Asked Naruto, looking over to the insane woman. Said insane woman smirks and playfully salutes him. I'll take that as a yes. She also mentioned how you are interested in me joining, said Poison Ivy, her eyes narrowing at the sage while putting her uneasy thoughts into the back of her head. Why would I join this Akatsuki group in the first place? It sounds a bit far-fetched to me. Naruto nods, agreeing with the metahuman's point of view. The reason he wants her is because of her natural ability to control plant life, which can be handy for both defense and offense. Her pheromones can also be handy for interrogation since she can just control anyone she wants with a simple kiss, as Harley has told him about her abilities. His eyes drifts down to her stomach as he remembers another fact that Harley mentioned about poison ivy. Maybe I can help you with a certain problem. Ivy frowns and stares intently into Naruto's blue eyes, wondering what he means by problem. And what problem do I have that you can fix? She asked, ready to release her pheromones when he says the wrong thing. I can fix your ability to reproduce. Whatever Ivy was going to say died in her throat as she looks at the sage with eyes wide and full of surprise and possible hope. That is until she remembers the fact that no sort of technology on the planet can heal her from what Woodrue did to her. Don't you lie to me! She roared as the nearby plants come to her aid, surrounding her with a few sharp vines and thorns aiming at Naruto, who raises a hand to stop anyone else from attacking. You can't heal what he did to me. Nobody can. Sighing, Naruto collects a very small amount of nature chakra and releases it through his feet. The chakra travels through the earth and the effects are noticeable to everyone as the grass turns greener and the plants relax, ignoring the call of Ivy. Naruto steps forward to the frantic poison ivy, who desperately tries to order the plants to attack him. I can rid a body of all diseases, regenerate a missing limb, and if I wanted to, replace a dying heart with a new one within seconds. If I can do all this, I am 100% confident that I can heal your womb. He placed a hand on top of Ivy's head, being a bit taller than her, and smiles. An honest smile in which nobody has seen for the past few millennium. Red Hood, Deadshot, and Gizmo glance at each other, all wondering if he can actually do that. Ivy quickly realizes that her pheromones aren't working on him, as he doesn't look at her with a dazed look like so many before him who have been affected by her pheromones. She tries to push him away and to call him a liar, but she can't. Simply being, she can feel the same energy within her children from within the sage, but in such a greater number that she can't believe he's actually human. There's also the fact that he is saying all of that with such confidence that she can feel a little bit of hope dwell up inside her. To actually have a child of her own. A human child. What do I have to do? Naruto pats her head before taking a step back to give he back her personal space. His stoic expression now back as he stares into her eyes, making her squirm from the way that it feels like he's staring right into her soul. Swear your loyalty to the Akatsuki. So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. Also share this story with your friends. And now it's time for me to go, bye.